It's a show about gay princesses saying the fuck word. You know, as the animation industry continues to jam forks into its eyes, it's nice to see that the indie scene is becoming stronger and stronger. As homegrown artists and animators become more fluent with the craft, and organizations like NaNoWriMo keep a healthy batch of fresh writing talent stimulated until that book they were writing totally becomes a big hit any minute now, more and more creators seem to be turning towards self-promotion and crowdfunding to get their passion projects off the ground, and that's what leads us to Hazbin Hotel, probably one of the most promising pilots I've seen in a very long time. So Hazbin Hotel is an adult comedy that takes place in Hell. Every year there are mass genocides committed by the angels of heaven because of overpopulation in Hell, making it difficult to fit more souls inside.
Too many mouths, not enough to go around.
Tired of seeing her people being slaughtered, Charlie, the princess of Hell, opts to open a hotel to rehabilitate sinners. Her idea is then laughed at because who in hell would want to be a better person? But Charlie gets some last-minute help from a powerful creature called the Radio Demon, who wants to help with the hotel because he's bored and thinks watching sinners fail miserably would be ideal entertainment for him. And bam! There you go. Great premise, great characters, great everything. Love it. One thing that does give me pause is that the premise right from the start is redemption, which is always a dangerous premise to have, because if you're not careful, you could end up in a position where you're accidentally deep-throating an SS boot in the hopes it'll start crying and pledge to be a better person. This premise can very quickly turn into the sword of Damocles over a creator's head, because if they apply the concept too broadly and too insistently, you just end up woobifying actually monstrous people and everyone views you as a creep. But so far, in practice, it's shown that actually redeeming sinners is difficult. What a fucking crazy notion, am I right? There's also the fact that Charlie doesn't use any language like anyone can change, but rather everyone deserves the chance to prove they can change. And that's a very good distinction to draw. It leaves the door open for nuance and actual character arcs rather than the rushed cry and forgive plots of certain shows I've resolved to stop banging on about. So already Hazbin Hotel seems to be on top of the biggest bugbear that's making current animated shows suck more dick than a horny Yogg Saron, so I'm quite frankly impressed. So with that said, on to the insufferable gushing. First of all, we have an actual gay relationship in this show. Charlie works at the hotel with her girlfriend Vaggie, who is kind of the Cassandra to Charlie's Rapunzel. Vaggie might just be my favorite character in the entire damn thing. I absolutely love her. I love her attitude, I love how protective she is of Charlie, and I love how she'll just pull a spear on the single most dangerous person in Hell without even a second thought. I love how with everyone else she'll be growling and intimidating, but with Charlie she's all sweet and supportive and you're doing amazing, sweetie.
What if I sing a song about it?
You knew I was gonna say that.
Because I know you.
They're so soft, it's the good fucking food. Oh, and also I love how she's so fucking pretty. Good God, I'm so gay. Vaggie is animated beautifully, with the animation team taking full advantage of the long hair to do some really cool things, like when she's talking about the Radio Demon. In fact, she's among the best animated and best voiced character I've ever seen, second only to the aforementioned Radio Demon. Speaking of, I think the Radio Demon is one of the best animated characters ever. All of his little movements, gestures, and mannerisms, the way he keeps breaking into that slasher smile that keeps finding new ways to be creepy and cool at the same time. You can tell they had a lot of fun with this guy. In fact, the show in general is probably one of the best looking shows ever produced, and I don't say that lightly. See, it's actually quite rare for an animated show to not look good. Even things made by indie studios tend to have good animation. Like, I can count the number of shows and films that actually have truly bad animation on one fucking hand. Food Fight, Rhapsody Street Kids, and Steven Universe. That's literally it. So imagine how good Hazbin Hotel has to be in order for the animation to even warrant a mention from me. This is some of the smoothest, most expressive, luxuriously detailed animation I've ever seen in my life. You can tell almost every frame was crafted with not just passion, but actual skill. And the animation perfectly serves the writing style, which is a sort of Invader Zim by way of Seth MacFarlane type deal.
Why don't you get that Tinker Toy bullshit off my turf before I smash it? More.
Oh my God. I love her. One last thing before we move on, and I know it's small, but it's a trope I love, is that there's a few moments during Inside of Every Demon is a Rainbow where Charlie's facade cracks and she goes full monster face with a big toothy grin and red eyes and everything, and that's just the good shit. I love that trope where you get those very, very, very brief moments of monster face on characters you wouldn't otherwise expect it from. Nothing insightful to say, I just think it's neat. Are there any downsides? Well, a few, but first I want to get to the imaginary downsides. Things people hate about Hazbin Hotel, which they wouldn't if they actually bothered to think for 45 seconds. So for example, one point of contention is this line from Katie Killjoy.
You can put that away. I don't touch the gaze. I have standards.
Now, I kinda get it. Our perceptions of villains or just bad people in general as far as animation goes is warped. It's in vogue these days for even the most heinous of villains to be overloaded with hashtag sympathetic traits because today's batch of cartoons are all written by angsty 90s kids who invented the Draco and leather pants trope. Since we live in a world where Steven Universe can look at genocidal fascists and go, Daddy. The idea that a bad person is bad is probably just Greek to a lot of people. Simple fact of the matter is that this line is an establishing line to tell you this character is a vile bitch. Literally after she says it, Charlie says, "How's that working out for you?" while eyeing a sign that says hell.
You can put that away. I don't touch the gaze. I have standards.
Yeah? How's that working out for you?
This is literally the most obvious fucking bit in the goddamn world, and it still went over some people's fucking heads. That's both sad and hilarious. The character is made as irritating and hateable as humanly possible, so that when she inevitably starts mocking Charlie's idea of the hotel, the audience will root for her even more. Safe to say, if you're getting upset about a homophobe being in hell, I think maybe you need to reevaluate your priorities. Vaggie has also been a point of contention as some people see her as the angry Latina stereotype, which I don't really get. The angry Latina is built around impulsive and explosive anger for seemingly no reason, and that is nowhere near what's going on with Vaggie. Yeah, she's angry and growls a lot when there's things around her to be angry about. Her anger only really flares up on two instances, after Angel Dust completely destroyed the hotel's reputation on national television, and later at the hotel when Alistair is going out of his way to piss her off. As someone who is herself constantly accused of being an outrage peddler by idiots, this whole thing just strikes me as tone policing because there's actual shit for her to be angry about. Like, a lot, actually.
Stupid bitch.
Yes, fucking go off, Vaggie. This same half-thinking is found with the sheer presence of certain kinds of people in hell. Why is a sex worker in hell? Why is Vaggie in hell when so far all she's done is be gay and growl? I get why Katie Killjoy is in hell. She's like an amalgamation of Megyn Kelly and Natalie Wynn. This ends up being the case with any main character who you see doing anything other than behaving like complete lunatics. As someone who's familiar with theology, I'm hesitant to lay a judgment call on that. You see, the driving plot device is the annual purges that heaven carries out because hell is too overpopulated for all the supposed sinners that get thrown in there on a daily basis. So Charlie wants to alleviate the issue by redeeming people so they can go to heaven, and well, there's the problem. When they're shown, the angels are all carrying twisted, gleeful grins, much like the radio demon has, indicating that they just love purging the wicked, as it were. Coupled that with Charlie's rapid-fire list of people who are supposedly sinners that any reasonable person in 2019 wouldn't actually consider to be a sinner, like drug abusers, sex workers, and the like, and the fact that there's a lot of people who you just can't really imagine why they're in hell. I mean, it doesn't take an idiot to make the connection. These people are in hell because the person making the decisions about who does and does not go to heaven is an unbelievable fucking cunt. That's pretty much where Charlie's plan dies on the vine, because you can rehabilitate people until you blue in the face, but the person who's actually making the decisions clearly doesn't care enough to solve the problem with anything other than genocide, because that's how God works 99% of the time. He's a crazy, violent psychopath who'd sell his most loyal follower down the river for a corn chip without a second's hesitation. That's one way to go. We'd have to wait and see if it actually gets picked up and produced properly. I've gotten some pushback for this because I'm willing to wait and see for this, but I come down hard on Steven Ubermensch for a lot of its parallel issues. But what the bitchy SU stands with a bicycle pump embedded in their skulls don't get is that I didn't really start condemning Stefanos' unicycle until the latter half of the third season. At first, it was pretty benign, arguably a good show. Then Bismuth happened and it started rapidly descending downhill into a pile of rusty tin cans and failure. There's ultimately a big difference between a pilot that could go either way and 5 seasons plus a film that already picked a direction. But let's face it, if you're someone who's mad at me for that imagined double standard, you're not actually paying attention. All you hear is incomprehensible yelling from one of those evil transes, because that's the real reason you're so fucking angry at me all the time. Anyway, getting off the sad malcontents who are still angry that I don't lick the clit of their preferred college dropout, what do I actually hate? Angel Dust. His shtick gets old after his first appearance, which admittedly is gold, and after that is pretty much a nuisance character who does nothing but bring the story down. I get the intention of a character like him constantly keeping the mood up, even when things are happening that could potentially be perceived as depressing, because this is a comedy at the end of the day, but the amalgamation of RuPaul and Glenn Quagmire has been played out for the last 20 years, and there's very little places it can actually go. Most of Angel Dust's lines could be replaced with Quagmire saying giggity, and very little would change. Angel Dust suffers even more in the third act once the radio demon appears and completely trounces him as a character. If this were to get picked up as a network, I'd like to see Angel Dust quietly written aside in favor of more radio demon, or at the very least have his character tweaked and worked on. I don't like that Vaggie's only role in the story is to tell Charlie that whatever she's currently doing isn't a good idea and growling at the other characters. Yeah, I get it, angry protective lesbian girlfriend, that's valid and I love her, but if it were up to me, I'd cut about about a third of those moments and replace them with cute, soft, gay moments because I love Charlie and Vaggie as a couple, and I love Vaggie, and I want her to do more cool stuff. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. It's a good show. Check it out. Have some fun. Lord knows we all need it.